Hello everyone, I hope everyone is having a good day. And we are Team ASTROS from the Kristu Jayanti School of Management. And we are going to be presenting on the topic climate change and disaster management as a part of a value added course. And the case we have taken is Karnataka Landslides of 2022. And especially, we are looking on to the topic from Coorg. So we have our team members here, Sri Lekha, Noel Jacob, Gugilam Teja, Mayank Sri, and myself, Emmanuel. And right now, Sri Lekha will be talking about landslides and she'll be giving the introduction. So I call upon Sri Lekha to take on the session.
Okay. So first of all, what is landslides? Landslides are also known as landslips and are several forms of mass wasting that may include a wide range of ground movements such as rockfalls, seated slope, failures, mudflow, and debris flows. In many cases, the landslide is triggered by specific events like earthquakes or heavy rainfall or even volcanic eruptions and etc. And one of the primary reasons for landslides is gravity. So these are a few examples of landslides and how it looks. So now I'm going to tell about the various types of landslides. They occur because of various reasons, and they are mainly classified into these four categories. Firstly, we have fall landslides. It means falling of some of these minerals and debris on or rocks from a slope or even a cliff. It is a collection. It leads to a collection of debris in the bottom of the hill. Next, we have topple landslide. These occur when some fractures are seen between rocks, and these rocks just they don't collapse. They just roll down to the uh, bottom of the hill because of gravity. Next, we have slides. It is a kind of landslide when a piece of rock slides towards downwards and it is separated from it. Next, we have spread. It happens when it happens on a flat land, and it is a gentle slope, and it occurs because of softer materials or when the soil is softer. Next, we have causes of landslides. So the main causes of landslides are heavy rains. So when there are heavy rains, the heavy rains cause to loosen the soil. Just like this, even deforestation. Due to deforestation, when the trees are uprooted, they lose many layers of soil, and the soil loosens, therefore causing landslides. Next, we have earthquakes. Earthquakes not only causes landslide but also the corresponding point volcanic eruptions. So because of the shake in the earth, there is a loosening of soil and landslides occur. Then we have man-made constructions or mountains on hilly areas. Especially in these hilly areas, when there are construction of roads or buildings, they tend to affect the rocks as well as the land in that area, therefore causing landslides. Next, we have shifting agriculture. Here, when the farmers or people doing this agriculture who plant or practice agriculture, and once they've utilized the land and all the fertility of the soil is gone, they just shift to another land and leave this land barren, therefore causing lack of soil nutrient, infertile land, and very dry land. So therefore causing soil erosion and landslides. Next, I have Teja talking about implications of landslides. Thank you.
I'm Teja. I'll be speaking about the implications of food landslide. There are mainly four aspects which we are talking about. One is environment, economy, life, and property. The impacts of implications of a landslide on environment. One is damage to vegetation. We lose a lot of vegetation in the forests and land. And the next one is destruction of agriculture. Whenever the landslide is happening, we lose the agricultural land and the productive soils from there. And it is also it depends in changes in surface and the underground water system. And it is also polluting the with extensive sediments. And whenever this landslide happens, it wipes out the large tracts of forest and removes the product soils and slopes. It destroys wildlife habitat. And now I'll be speaking about the implications of landslide on environment. The first one is loss of tax revenues on devalued property. That means whenever a landslide happens, the property value will be reducing, and whatever the amount of tax they are paying on the particular property is reducing, and that is burdening the economy. And loss of tourist revenues. As we already know that Coorg is famous for tourism, and whenever this, because of this landslides, people will not tend to go to tourism, and that because of the Coorg landslides, they were already alerted and alert in a particular area for a few days. Because of that, the economy has been decreased. And the next one is interruption to transportation. Not only to Coorg, with the nearby places, it is also affecting the transportation. The loss of industrial and agricultural products. Whenever the particular landslide happens in a particular place, the products which grows there and which manufactures there, they don't have a proper transportation or the manufacturing units to be working. So that affects on the economy. Next, I'll be speaking about the implications of landslide on life. Okay, here are the few recent landslides that have happened in Coorg. One that had happened on 2nd August 2022. The two sisters died in Dakshin Kannada landslide on 2nd August 2022. And 4 people from a single family died in the Bagpal district on the 3rd August 2022. And 5 people died in Bagmangla district on 7th August 2022. And because of this landslides, hundreds of houses were damaged and people have been shifted to relief centers. The government have announced a red alert for the entire Dakshin Kannada. Now I'll be speaking about the implications of landslide on life. Whenever this landslide occurs, there are a lot of losses we face. One is loss of various infrastructures like roads and buildings. And electrical poles, electronic and building whatever property belong, and we sometimes lose our near ones. And it is also causing damage to people. And now I will take our decision.
Yes, thank you, Teja. Let's look into some of the measures taken by government or organizations around Coorg to resolve the risk that has occurred, the disaster that has occurred. So we shall look into those points. Next slide, please. So the first step that the government took was to move the residents from the villages. Some of the villages are Tora and Monangiri, and they were moved to the relief centers where, and the reason for their removal was the roads were damaged. And the next measure that they've taken is to establish 17 animal shelters for the cattle that the villagers were growing. Around 618 cattle were shifted to animal shelters that were established for this very purpose. And after this, the NDRF, or the National Disaster Rescue Force team of 20, and the police departments deployed for rescue of citizens. These were the predominant forces of the government that were helping citizens into moving to safer areas. We also had civil society groups and volunteers among the people itself that offered their assistance and services to aid people that were stuck in the landslide. Next slide, please. Yeah, if you can see here, those are the rafts that were deployed to take the citizens, the villagers, the residents, and also below that, those are the lorries. Usually, essential commodities need to be taken, and lorries and heavy vehicles are usually taken for transportation. Could you move to the next slide, please? Yeah, so there was a ban on heavy goods carrying transporting vehicles, as the lands were very soft, the roads were very soft, and it could break easily. Apart from this, the Chamundeshwari Electric Supply Corporation, or also known as the CESC, they started working on the restoration of the electric lines and poles that were destroyed by the landslide. In addition to this, apart from other PWDs, other earth movers were called to uh, to move sand and rocks and other debris. So the government hired more of earth movers, which should have been bought in the first place, but they had to call in more to make it more feasible. So next, I'll hand over to Emmanuel for the rest.
Yes, thank you, Noel, for your descriptions about the rescue force that was given. So I'll be talking about the suggestions that I could give to the government and the organizations to prevent landslides, and also I'll be concluding this topic. So talking about the suggestions, I would first give my topic as my suggestion as stone blocks. Actually, I have a picture over here. Like you can see a picture over here, like the second picture. This was actually used in Oman, like in many countries, like to block the moving stones from the mountains. This can be used to block the stones that are coming to the roads and affecting the people there. So these kind of preventing measures can be taken, and then we can look on to the hazard mapping and avoiding living in the areas that are actually in the slope area. So people can be they won't be affected and there won't be any kind of a damage to the society. And then we are looking into the practice of terrace farming. Instead of farming in all these the slopey areas, we can move into this kind of agriculture farming type where they do the farming in the terrace, like in the buildings and all. Like they have a terrace type of cuttings in the mountains and all. So next is planning ahead and forecasting. Instead of just having the ideas set up on the moment, the governments and the organizations, they can look in a far sightedness, like they can have ideas to prevent these landslide for a long term, so that when something occurs in a sudden moment, they can take measures relating to it. And then maintaining maximum vegetation. So when they grow trees and all, it provides like kind of a shelter to people and it doesn't damage the stuff. So these are the preventing measures that can be taken. So then I'll be coming to the conclusion. So as far as the presentation was concerned, it was wholly on Coorg and Karnataka landslides. So in conclusion, I would try to conclude as a whole of India. So when we take into statistics, 12% of Indian land is actually prone to landslides, which is a rising number. That is not a good sign for the country, which is actually developing in a large scale. So these must be taken into consideration before applying the preventing measures. Then talking next, in 2020, in 2019, around 264 Indians were actually died in case of landslides, and this number is increasing towards the going years. And the effects of landslide actually last for years. So there is kind of different phases, like rescue phase and recovery phase and another phase. Like there are some kind of phase, and when something like landslide happens, the effects actually last for so many years that we enter into a rebuilding phase. So losses in terms of all sections are occurred, like like as Teja mentioned, like there was losses due to economy, to environment, and all sort of things. So when landslide occurs, there is a mass loss, like in terms of their property, people lose their life and all. So coming to a conclusion, actually, the government of India is actually very inadequate to handle the disaster. So they need to have so many preventing measures to be taken into consideration, with along with the collaboration with also the private institutions. They can also be in hand, so that they take a higher amount of the preventing measures, and they can have a planning commissions which is set for to prevent all these issues. So that's what I would like to conclude, and very thank you for having your time. And once again, thank you guys. You like